Well, I guess we should get started. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you are. And my name is Ray Jackson. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I work with R&N Architects who are helping to facilitate, co-sponsor this series of webinars that we're having on housing innovation. And this morning, we're going to be discussing issues of fragmentation of the industry. And so behind that is driving collaboration, communication, and change management throughout the value chain in the home delivery process. We have with us 4 experts this morning, excuse me, who will be presenting in this order. Heather Voorman, who is Housing Finance Program Manager with the National Association of Homebuilders in Washington, D.C. And she's going to share her big picture view of home building in the United States and expertise in government relations at the local, state, and federal levels. And our next presenter after Heather will be Andrew McCoy, who is director of the Virginia Center for Housing Research at Virginia Tech. And he will share his insights on how innovation progresses through the residential construction industry and how it can make homes more affordable and sustainable. And then following that, we have Jahnke, who's in Minnesota, and he's an energy consultant with Extreme Panel Technologies, bringing his expertise as a former trade contractor and current offsite construction provider, helping the industry adopt SIPs to deliver low and zero energy homes. And then finally, last but not least, Browne, founder and chairman of ADL Ventures. He splits his time between Boston and San Francisco, and he's going to share insights from his experience commercializing emerging technologies and managing innovation across a number of industries, as well as some of what he's learned by leading the Department of Energy's Advanced Building and Construction Collaborative. So I'm going to open the discussion up to Heather Voorman to start us off. And Heather, welcome. So if you would be so kind as to share your insights, it would be great. And again, good morning, good afternoon to you all who are joining us.
Thank you, Ray. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. I first of all just want to thank the Housing Innovation Alliance for having me here today. I'm excited to talk about this topic. If you could advance my slide, please. Thank you. So I'm going to get us kicked off just thinking about fragmentation in the home building industry. And the first thing that comes to mind for me is the importance of fostering collaboration between the different sectors of the housing industry. And so coming from the National Association of Homebuilders, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about NAHB and what we do to builders and other housing industry professionals. NAHB represents the largest network of craftsmen, innovators, and problem solvers dedicated to building and enriching communities. So we operate at the local, state, and national levels. And so we're a federation, and we help members connect and learn from one another and all sorts of housing industry professionals from across the country. We represent more than 700 state and local associations, and that's made up of more than 140,000 members. And they're not just all home builders and remodelers. About 1/3 of our members are home builders and remodelers, but the rest work in closely related specialties such as sales and marketing, housing finance, and manufacturing and supplying building materials. So this extensive network really does help our members connect and learn and then innovate as a cohesive housing industry. If you could advance to my next slide, please. I think our most shining example of this innovation and collaboration is our International Builders Show. And this is an annual event, and it's really a hub for product launches, construction demos, industry thought leader sessions, workshops, and panel discussions. And it really connects people, products, and knowledge to spark innovation and progress in the housing industry. So some examples from IBS events that really I think are a good kind of example of what we're doing through this event are the New American Home and the New American Model. And these homes feature a variety of trending design concepts, efficient construction methods, and innovative products. So over the years, the New American Home and the New American Model have proudly displayed countless technologies and design ideas that have been utilized around the world. And then we also have a lot of exhibits and demonstrations, and then especially our educational sessions. And so the foundation of our educational sessions are what we call our builder knowledge sessions, building knowledge sessions. And these are 60-minute sessions, and they cover the most important topics in the home building industry. So everything from architecture and design, building techniques and strategies, management, custom building and remodeling, and multifamily housing. So really a wide range of idea sharing that happens during those building knowledge sessions. So overall, the Builder Show is really an incredible opportunity to connect the different sectors of the home building industry. If you're interested in getting to experience this, our next show is February 8th through the 10th, 2022 in Orlando, Florida. But we also have our state and local home builder associations that do a little version of this at their level. So I would check with your local home builder association and see if there's a show happening in your community. If you could advance my next slide, please. So now turning to a completely different topic, but another area of fragmentation in the home building industry that really affects everyone from the home builder to the homeowner is this disconnect that we have between housing and the government. So regulatory barriers at the federal, state, and local level really prevent housing innovations in many cases and make housing less affordable. NAHB analysis shows that regulatory requirements alone account for 25% of the cost of constructing a single family home and 30% of the cost of a multifamily unit. So these factors really make it difficult to increase the supply of affordable housing and ensure that it meets the needs of increasingly diverse households. And while some of these regulations do have good intentions and are meant to make housing safer for families, it's actually keeping families from obtaining housing in the first place. Even a relatively small increase in the price of a home can prevent hundreds of thousands of families from achieving the goal of home ownership. An NAHB study found that a $1,000 increase in the US median home price of $346,000 would push over 153,000 households out of the market. So in other words, based on their incomes, they were able to qualify for a mortgage and purchase their home before the price increase, but not afterwards. And this cost is actually preventing households at all income levels from finding the right home in the current market. The inability to find affordably priced homes is the primary reason why active buyers have not purchased a home yet, with 39% of currently seeking home buyers citing high prices as their biggest obstacle in the second quarter of 2021, according to our latest housing trends report. And then 2/3 of buyers who were actively engaged in the process of finding a home in the second quarter have spent upwards of 3 months searching for a home without success. And then finally, in the previous 2 quarters, longtime searchers reported the most common reason for not finding a house was getting outbid by other offers. So at NAHB, we're working to identify the costly regulatory barriers that do not result in meaningful benefits to homeowners and communities. And we believe that these efforts will allow for greater innovations and keep housing affordable for more families. So that's my 5 minutes. I'm happy to answer questions later.
All right, I guess I'll take it from here. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone on the webinar. My name is Andrew McCoy. I'm the director of the Virginia Center for Housing Research and the associate director of the Myers-Lawson School of Construction at Virginia Tech. I'm going to give you a quick overview of who we are and kind of what we do. And then as we have questions and we kind of have further discussions beyond this 5 minutes, I'll be able to talk to you a little bit more about fragmentation and how innovation moves through the supply chain and through the residential industry. So just to kind of start with the Myers-Lawson School of Construction at Virginia Tech, we're a joint venture between engineering and architecture. We offer accredited undergraduate and graduate degrees in both construction engineering and construction management. Our research is pretty vast. It spans from human-centered systems and technologies to project controls, safety, building performance, information technologies, including drones, augmented reality, robotics, digital twins, and even further. And what's nice is that with kind of the 2 hats that I wear, I get to see how our research across the university and in other areas, not just in the School of Construction, and then our housing research kind of fits together and can bring a lot of different sides to the issue and study it. In terms of the center, we're an interdisciplinary college research center, and we are the state of Virginia's Center for Housing Research. So the General Assembly established us in 1989, and our core mission, is to improve affordability, durability, and quality of housing by creating knowledge through research. And that's what we spend a lot of our time doing. We serve as a resource to policymakers, communities, nonprofits, and for-profit businesses around research, information, technical assistance on affordable housing. So a lot of different ways, a lot of different hats that we wear. But, to boil it down, in other words, we supply the data behind decisions typically, and increasingly we provide policy and help with businesses and how they're trying to plan strategically. So historically, we worked with localities to examine strategies for bringing affordable housing into the local housing stock. So I would compare this to a market study in a lot of ways. Ours is based on publicly available data. And we've gotten very good at working with publicly available data and helping others to work with it. We look at the current housing stock levels, we look at incomes, and then typically we find the gaps in between. And that sounds very simple, but there are a lot of different sides to it and nuances to it, ideas and concepts like how some groups crowd out other groups. We do look at regulation like Heather was just talking about, and we look at the effect of that on cost and process, all of that. But we, in conjunction to that, we developed the annual housing affordability measures for Housing Forward Virginia's affordability source book. And that includes kind of designing and developing several housing affordability indices that we use across the state and really kind of as a basis and a model we can use nationally. Over the last 20 years, though, we've increasingly studied housing technology and perform research around this. We've done this for the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of Labor, National Science Foundation, the Realtors, NEHB. We've worked with them, especially with the Housing Innovation Research Labs. And more recently, we've been working with our local Virginia Housing on a really exciting grant with 3D concrete printing. So our goal more recently is to examine how housing technology can increase affordable housing options. And one example would be a recent focus we had on mechanical system designs for low-income housing tax credit properties that were multifamily buildings, where we looked at increases in the efficiency and performance and how that could reduce resource needs and costs, redesign, and then studying the actual performance once human beings have moved into those spaces. So it's one thing to kind of speculate and to design and to simulate. It's another thing to actually study them for many years afterwards. And so we have really a large data set of up to 400 units across the state right now that we're looking at how the behavior in those units is affecting the efficiency. And then we're able to model that with technologies. And then very recently, we've kind of focused more on replacing portions of the housing production cycle with innovation that's out there and looking at ways that could save time, money, labor, while at the same time increasing quality and durability. And so our latest project is a 3D concrete printed house in Richmond, Virginia, where we worked with members of the industry, we worked with manufacturers, we worked with policymakers, and we actually have a house now that's almost built that we will be able to start studying and looking at whether the design and the performance that we hoped for and the cost savings and durability is indeed going to happen the way we hoped it would. So I'll stop there and I'll send it on to the next speaker. I'm looking forward to answering questions though.
All righty, thank you, Andrew. Don, you're up. So what do you have to offer for us today?
So I work for a structural insulated panel manufacturer. So again, we're really aimed at manufacturing into the low or zero energy housing areas. We try to, as a manufacturer, we're a zero landfill manufacturing facility. So we try to start that right in our plant as we go out. Typically, SIP panels have been into the higher end custom home markets, and we've tried to find ways to create the efficiency. We've gotten into the modular side of things to work with that industry, and also lately a lot into the multifamily. And a lot like the previous speaker, Andrew just said, trying to figure out how to lower those loads, change the different mechanical systems. So we work a lot through the Energy Star program, Net Zero Ready. We incorporate a lot of modeling. And so for us, it seems like the challenge is how do we get some of these different supply chain people on board? So now we got HVAC manufacturers making small enough equipment to work and being able to create super efficient buildings, but also improve the durability and then also reducing the carbon footprint and at the same time trying to improve indoor air quality. So I think that's the dance we go through, and it seems like we struggle as we go around the country. Just we've got 10 or 11 states with no state codes, all the varying state codes that you work through. Interestingly, we're one of the few products that, without having a vapor barrier on either side, but the wall is a vapor barrier, we can use the same product in Minnesota as we can in Texas. So it does allow us to move around the country a little easier. And then it's just finding both the contractor side to do the training and education to learn how to get efficient at putting these products up, and then having that follow through. And now we're finding the different programs throughout the country that will actually allow us to enhance the value of a building by raising the NOI. So it's really a comprehensive study of all the different things that go into it, even though we make one part of it. So we typically ship from Colorado out to the East Coast as kind of our target. And then we have about 3 different countries that we ship to as well. So it gives us a little taste of everything from we've done tiny houses, we've done modular, we've done large residential, and then up into the commercial multifamily. So it's really a product that can span a lot of different things, and it's where we've seen technology really improve into it. So now we have naturally mined minerals that are in both our OSB and foam, so that we're impervious to carpenter ants, termites, mold and mildew, the things that really start to attack different building techniques. So we try to continually advance what we're doing to make it the most efficient and sustainable product that we can. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks, Don. Noel, you're last but not least, my friend. So let us know what you know.
Okay. Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you very much. It's an honor to speak here today, so appreciate the invitation. ADL Ventures works with fabricators, building material suppliers, general contractors, developers, REITs, and so forth. So basically everyone in the world to in the supply chain of industrialized construction. And so this session, we're talking about overcoming barriers to innovation and attainability. I was going to highlight very quickly in the context of ADL Ventures what we're already doing in that regard. But on the next slide, you'll see we have there's three programs that ADL runs that are pertinent to this topic. The first is monetizing innovation. We work with a set of factories. That's if you look at the graphics, because we're going fast through this, you see a whole bunch of factories on the left-hand side. So we'll work with a ton of factories. We'll be able to draw out industry improving ideas that, if socialized around the industry, would improve everything for everyone else, including the person who had the idea. We put those ideas through a funnel, and then ultimately we can answer the question of how to help the people who have the ideas get paid for them, to monetize those ideas. The output of the funnel is usually a new co. So we work with that industry partner to create a new code that can service the industry. Or on the flip side, it could be more. We'll be able to create a consortium licensing model like we did for the Advanced Building Construction Collaborative, which I'll talk about on the third slide. Next slide, please. Another activity that ADL does is working with the space to improve the products, the inputs that are coming into the industrialized construction industry. And it's really centered around fabricators. We think of it anyway, as the fabricators are the people who have to assemble these things. They need the right inputs to assemble the right things. And then they need the pathway to market. This pathway that we create is working with the fabs. We understand where the areas for improvement are, where there are areas for new product innovation, where there are new demands from the consumers that the fabricators aren't currently able to solve, and we'll come and help innovate on the processes, or innovate on the materials going in or the systems going in. And finally, oh, and by the way, to that end, we have a program that we have called the Industrialized Construction Innovation Platform that we do for anyone in the value chain who is interested in getting more into industrialized construction, selling more products for it. The final activity we do related to this is the Advanced Building Construction Consortium. I'm one of the members who helped put the thing together and design it. This is really addresses the question of how does an industry share best practices and knowledge across the entire space? How can everyone have access to a more of an open knowledge base? ABC is really all about that. It's a federally sponsored DOE program that brings in anyone who really wants to be part of it. It amplifies the R&D efforts of each individual in the group by kind of doing collective R&D for major industry problems that need to be solved, and they can bring federal funding, of course, to the table to help with that. They can influence standards. As a group, we can do a lot more, so that ABC does spend a lot of time thinking about how to help the industry move forward. What is the interest of its membership, and then ultimately strengthening the business. How do you modify, or how do you restructure how business is done in the industrialized construction space to move it from the construction industry and make a successful transition into the manufacturing industry?